Kids are asleep. You find a really good show or something.
Yeah.
I'm always like making I'm like, okay, it's 10:30. We can do, we can go a little more.
You're bargaining.
It's like 11.
You're bargaining.
I'll do one more, 11:40. I mean, I could do one more. And then at this point, you're like, you know what? I'm going to be so fucking tired tomorrow. Let's go the distance. Okay,
so yeah.
Record the intro now.
So what did Milkless? Because I think we start with a name.
Two dads. We love our kids, but then we also need them to know that we're like pretty cool and it's not like a wimpy podcast. So, hey, hey, Milkless.
Hey, welcome. Hey,
Milkless. Call the audience, Milkless. What's up, Milkless? Max coming at you.
What if that's it? That's our first take. All right. On this episode of the podcast, we're going to be talking about going the fuck to sleep. And we don't mean your kids. We mean us. We're not good at it. We're going to talk about the all too common bummer that is tired parenting. And then we're going to get into the term, you maybe heard it, revenge sleep procrastination. This one is one that neither Max or I do so well. We're going to try to get better at it, maybe by talking through it, developing some strategies for ourselves to not be such chuckleheads. Also, I'm recording on a kind of bootleg setup in a small town in Ireland, so apologies for the shite recording in that. Also, apologies for that attempt at an Irish accent. Here we go.
All right, Matt, today we're talking about being tired parenting, maybe something called revenge sleep procrastination. And when we're tired, how do we parent?
Worse.
Exactly. 2018 study linked sleep deprivation to increased anger response. We all know what that's like. When you're tired, you're not feeling so great, the kids just are, annoying you. You're not the best version of yourself. So what are we going to try to get into today?
Well, the thing that makes me so annoyed with myself is that I know this, and yet I consistently do not get enough sleep. I mean, regularly. It is the exception when I get enough hours of sleep in a night. And a lot of that, sometimes that's the amount of work in the day. That's all the things pile up. You work in the evenings, whatever. But sometimes it's just bullshit, man. Sometimes I really feel like I'm doing it to myself.
Yeah. And so that's revenge sleep procrastination. So what is that? What is that actually defined as? Because some people might not know what it is.
Yeah, my wife introduced me to this term, revenge sleep procrastination. I think most simply put, it is the concept of putting off sleep because you do not feel like you have had enough time in the day for your own pursuits, to do the things you wanted to do. So even though at the end of the night, you ought to be going to sleep, you're going to get, if I go to sleep now, I'll get 7 hours and then 6 hours. Even though you know that, somehow you still prioritize me time, which for me often ends up, the later it gets, being just garbage time. It's just such garbage time.
It's also just like, I'm always telling the kids, like, okay, guys, got to go to bed. I don't want to go to sleep. I'm like, that's what we do. You need to learn how to go to sleep. And then it's like 9:45. My wife gets in bed. She's like, you getting in bed? I get in bed. She puts her eye mask on. I'm on my phone and she calls it corpsing. She's like, why are you corpsing? I'm like, I'm trying not to move so that I don't disturb you. She's like, you normally move more when you're actually sleeping. It's bothering me. Can you go in the living room if you're going to be on your phone for more than 5 more minutes? I'm like, I just want to do like 20 more minutes. She's like, just go in the. She's like, you're like a child. You're like another child.
Yeah.
But I get that feeling. It's like the day's not over. Like you don't want to give in to the day. I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
There was a really, really interesting study in March of 2023 that it actually correlated directly with people with a faster life history strategy, which I had to look up what that meant.
Yeah, what?
So people with faster life history strategies where you're actually thinking like, I need to get ahead sooner. I need to be successful. You're kind of more anxious in the long-term, strategy of life. Maybe that's the thing. There's something kind of nagging at you.
Yeah. I was talking to my buddy about this, my buddy Stu, who has a wee babe now. I'm from Ireland. I've picked up, I'm calling them wee babes. My buddy Stu was saying, I feel like I get to the end of the day and something else is supposed to happen. And I thought that was such a good articulation of that feeling. I mean, I also, to that point about the like faster life history, I've always kind of had like an oddly present sense of my mortality. Your life is just ticking away 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time. And there is a thing where it's like sleep is, I mean, there's that famous proverb or quote, sleep is the cousin of death. Like when you go to sleep, it is the death of that day.
Yeah.
And you will wake up one day older.
Yeah, and I feel that sometimes when I talk with our kids when they're going to bed, sometimes the thought of actually going to sleep, you know that the times when your kids really don't want to go to sleep, it's almost like death. You're like, it happens, it's okay, and they're like, I don't want to, and it's not because it's not because they like want to stay up and play. It's like they don't want to like let it go.
Yeah,
let the day go.
Our baby will do this thing right as she's falling asleep. She'll do this thing where she goes wham, 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 just against my forearm. And it's like, don't let go.
Did she say wham?
No. That's
Okay,
the sound
like...
I'm making in my head when I'm like, gosh. But she's just, and then our eldest daughter used to do a thing when she was tiny where she'd be nodding off and then she'd just stick her finger in her mouth and go, and gag herself back awake. And like both of them seemed to have this thing where they were like, just right at the end, they couldn't let go. And I would get so frustrated with them for it. And then I'd go watch YouTube videos until 2 a.m. that same night and do the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, I feel like it's not rational.
Clearly not,
you know you don't want to do it. But especially when after your kid, you get the kids down to bed. You know, your partner goes to bed. And a lot of times it's not always males. A lot of times the woman does this. I've seen this.
Did you find any data on like, is it more prevalent male female or is that totally?
There's only been like 5 studies on it, and one of the studies was in terms of teenagers, it was more prevalent among males. Outside of that, there was no real correlation. And I know personally some women in the partnership who do this.
Who do this?
Yeah,
it does feel like if it's tied to that feeling that you haven't had enough time for you in the day, it does feel like parenthood is really a good formula.
Yeah.
For this.
A 2019 survey of over 1,200 U.S. adults showed that parents pretty much have the same bedtime as non-parents. Anytime between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. But parents wake up earlier.
Yeah, we do.
So parents are just like typically more tired. Sleep is really important for, one, just mental health, how you're doing, but then also how you parent. Everyone knows. You snap at your kids when you're tired.
Yeah. Gosh, I've had my daughter say to me a couple of times, she has this joke because whenever I'm trying to, she starts yawning and getting sleepy, I'll be like, you getting a little tired? And she'll always just snap her eyes open and go, I'm never tired. But a couple of times she said, you're always tired. And I was like, oof. Oh, man.
It's just so fucked up when you're like, tomorrow we're going to do this. Like we play like egg drop, where we make these little egg things where to protect an egg, you throw them off the second story. And then I stay up till 2 a.m. on a Friday night by myself watching Netflix. And then they wake me up at 6. So I got 4 hours of sleep. And I'm just like, are we really doing egg drop? And I'm like not leaning into life.
No.
I'm kind of like,
yeah.
Like I need coffee. So then I have like 7 coffees. I get kind of like an upset stomach from having too much coffee. It's like, what are you doing, guy?
Gotta leave egg drop to go poop 3 times. Yeah. It's the whole thing. And that's what's so frustrating the next day is like realizing what I have sacrificed is incredibly quality time.
Yeah.
And what I have gotten is pretty meaningless. It's something to really work on. I'm curious, like, what do you think it is? Like when my buddy Stu said, I feel like something else is supposed to happen. What do you think that is? What is it that you haven't? Because for me, it feels like there's something I haven't gotten out of my day that I need to get.
Yeah, I think it's that like inner child. It's the part of you that is still a kid and like is a little bit selfish. And it's a wrong word because I don't think it's a negative thing, but I just think the people who are like stereotypically adult, they just do their work, they go to sleep, they wake up, and they're just like very disciplined and happy in that.
I was talking to my buddy Bez about this, also a dad. A dad who is like able to go to sleep. Like he's one of those guys, this is all related. He's one of those sick people who can open a carton of ice cream and eat 3 spoonfuls and then just put it away.
Yeah.
Like a sociopath.
Self-regulating.
Yeah, he's highly self-regulating. He's also like, built like a gymnast and a doctor and a wonderful person, but it's a very different personality type than I am. But I was telling him about this problem. He's like, Oh, that's low-hanging fruit, baby. That can make your life so much better. That's the lowest hanging fruit you got. So I gotta take Bez's commentary to heart.
I think it also relates to discipline versus motivation. Like I'm very into like being pumped up. Let's go. Let's get motivated. And then discipline will win almost always in like training for, an athletic event. If you can just do the work.
I have a discipline in things that require action. I can put the family to bed and then go out and lift weights in my garage at 11 p.m. and then shower and then come back and work for another 2 hours on something that I don't want to work on. If it requires activation energy, I have the discipline to make myself do it.
Yeah.
I don't have the discipline that if there's a box of goldfish in my house, I won't eat all of them.
Yeah.
It's the discipline of like laying off it.
Do you feel sometimes like you're in a movie? Like I always think like I'm in a movie, like, oh, this is the montage part where I get pumped up and do the really hard thing.
Yeah, the music that I'm listening to is often whatever would score the scene of my movie.
It's never like, oh, well, in this part of the movie, this is when he gives up on the day and goes to sleep.
Not a lot of sleep montages in film.
So I think it's just, I don't know, realizing that letting the day go is important because it's all about tomorrow at this point. Like at some point, you just got to let the day go. I want to be that way. But then sometimes it's especially when when I'm highly stressed, overwhelmed, overworked, or weirdly tired. My wife will be like, dude, on the nights you're so tired, those are the nights you then go ahead and stay up late. Because I think you have a stress or panic response to being tired. So you're stressed. And then it feels good. You get like quick dopamine hits from watching a program of like a helicopter rescue on Everest that like your wife doesn't like, your kids don't like.
So that's interesting because I've been trying to pinpoint this thing because this is like a real thing that I need to work on. I mean,
Problem.
It's a bit of a problem. Yeah.
Like, hold on. I have a friend who's like, you got any good shows? I'm like, yeah. Have you seen Sons of Anarchy? He's like, how good is it? I'm like, oh, it's real good. He's like, I can't watch it. I'll lose my fucking job. I'll watch it all. He's like, when Breaking Bad came out, I watched it through to the sunrise.
Oh boy. Just can't stop.
He's like, I'll ruin my life.
Yeah.
He says, yeah, this is serious.
It's serious. But so the thing you said about watching a show about Everest, I think there's something there. So I feel like what I am longing for at the end of the day, the thing that hasn't happened for me is like an adventure, a path that I don't know what's at the end of it, because that can be hard to come by when you have young kids. The routine is a big part of what you're doing. And there's a couple of reasons I think that. One is that one of the things that I tend to indulge in those late night escapades is a little bit of the mota.
Yeah.
Weed is like a brain adventure.
Yeah.
You can have a whole adventure from your couch.
Yeah.
So I think that that's one of the itches that's not getting scratched, that it's like, I feel like I was supposed to do something a little crazy or a little dangerous. I mean, a lot of times the YouTube shorts that suck me in are like, oh, here's CCTV footage of an armed robbery. And then I'm like in bed at 1:30 a.m. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching right now? It's the rescue on Everest. It's the action movie. It's that thing that is so far from your life when you have young kids that is kind of, in some ways, maybe quintessentially male. My wife sent me a funny video of a guy just like in Florida, a Florida man, pulling a python out of some water and wrestling it for a while, just with his buddy filming him. Had a mullet and a mustache, was having a real good time. And my wife sent that to me and she's like, boys just kind of want to die a little, don't they? And I was like, yes, exactly. And then when you're a dad, that's selfish and you're not allowed to do it. So you have to settle for not wearing sunscreen.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really get you there. So at 1 a.m., you're just like, maybe just a YouTube search for motorcycle gangs in El Salvador.
For me also, I know that I'm so on all day. All day is the kids, life, work, whatever. You're just on all day. And then especially if I have a gummy or something, you really just kind of let go. This is your relaxing time, because I need probably 1 hour less sleep than my wife. So I have an hour there. So it would be healthy if I just kind of stayed up and watched one show for 1 hour, which I do 20% of the time. But then what happens is if you don't have a plan, if you're going in there blind, you can't let the ape take control. And that's where I get into the thing where like I'm going to bed at like 1 o'clock. And it's like, man, I know the kids are going to be crawling into the bed, waking me up at 6:20.
Yeah.
In 5 hours, and I need 7.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't have the plan, it ends up just being like letting the ape who wants to play the games or watch the TV or eat the Doritos. It's just too much fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thought of sleep is like giving up on the day.
There's this great, you remember Nabokov wrote Lolita? And he has this great quote about sleep where he's just like, I can't believe that every night I have to surrender myself to the humiliation of sleep, to this death of genius and creativity and productivity. He just was so pissed about it. And that is how I feel. I think for me, there's also an element of like, I've always worked at night, and that's when I've usually written movies. So I feel like I've always had a little edge over everybody that like, I get another 2 hours in the night. And that used to be pretty true, but I also slept later.
Yeah.
And now as my kids wake me up earlier, that is increasingly garbage time. And what I end up defaulting to is not actual productivity, but things that give me the sense of productivity, but are actually just a computer game that I'm good at. You know what I mean? It's like I'm winning.
Yeah.
This thing that means nothing to anyone. And then somehow for me, that's tied to anxiety. Because like I'll catch myself and I'm like playing the computer game as fast as I can and just fucking chomping on my fingernails like I belong in an insane asylum.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I know what can get me off my fingernails if I just get some food and just eat that as fast as I possibly can.
But at the same time, it's like sometimes we need entertainment. We need a little off-gassing, and that can be healthy. If you had a plan, it's similar to like making a budget. Instead of just like going willy-nilly to the stores and spending money or whatever, like knowing that, no, I'm allowed to spend money on X because it's in my plan. And then you don't feel guilty about spending money because you know that's part of my plan.
Yeah.
It's like if you said, you know what? No, I like playing this computer game, but I'm only going to do it for 1 hour. My wife goes to bed at 9:30. I'm going to play from 9:30 to 10:30, and then I'm going to go to bed at 10:30. If I just did that, I think I'd scratch the itch that is needed, and I'd get 8 hours of sleep. I think it's because I don't really have a plan, and I'm like, I don't need sleep, babe. Let me go do my thing.
Yeah.
And I go do my thing, and then it's
Don't tell me what to do, Mom.
the next morning, she's like, what time? And I'm like,
Oh, no.
I always tell the truth. We don't really like keep stuff. I'm like, 1:30.
Oh, you know how you get out of that? Here's the discipline that I do have. I do not have the discipline to go to sleep, but I have the discipline to play my computer for more than an hour without ever looking at the time in the top right corner. And then I can make it all the way to bed without ever looking at the clock in the bedroom. And I go to sleep. And then who knows what happened? I mean, I don't know.
Oh my God. I'm always like making little, I'm like, okay, it's 10:30.
You're bargaining.
We can go a little more. We can go a little more. It's a little bit childish.
Shut up.
Let's be real. Like, I'm always trying to cram more stuff into the day. It's like
Crap
whether
it into
it's
the day, baby.
crap more, just
shit more stuff.
Shit hours.
Gross. That is about the quality of those hours, though.
Yeah, no, but it's like you find a really good show or something. It's 10:30. It's like I'm gonna do one more. It's like 11. I'll do one more. 11:40. I mean, I could do one more. It's like 12. 12:20. You're just like, let's make it even 1 a.m. I'll watch one more. And then at this point, you're like, you know what? I'm going to be so fucking tired tomorrow. Let's go the distance. And then you go till 2.
Dude, I have these like internal arguments where like future self shows up and is like, don't be a fucking asshole, man. And I'm like, fuck you, tomorrow self. I need this.
It's so sick.
I feel like I can know about it and have a plan. And then when it comes time to execute the plan, still bargain my way into getting less sleep. But I do think that you hit on something that's really smart, which we've kind of like talked about this in a number of different areas, which is like, if everything you do after everybody else goes to bed is bad and is eventually procrastination, well, then you'll just do it all. And there's no plan. And it's just free for all. And then you're up until 3 a.m. But if you say like, look, I like this show, I'm going to watch one, and that's okay. If you make a budget, it's that idea that there's ultimately freedom and structure. That structure allows you the freedom to do some things guilt-free and to do some things that you know are not a bad idea. Or I could just say to myself, I'm going to watch 4 armed robberies tonight, and then I'll go to bed.
At the end of the day, we're literally just like big children, because it's like, if I tell my kid, look, you have 1 more hour of this and then we're going to go to bed, like, then they're chill. Mm-hmm. It's like, we're going to be doing the puzzle for 1 more hour. It's like, if there's no expectation of like ending, then you just keep doing it.
Yeah.
So that's why I think what would work for me is if I'm just like, okay, you have 1 hour to watch this thing after your wife goes to bed. And it's like, okay, I'm down with 1 hour. I wouldn't be like, I want 4 hours. I'd be like, no, that makes sense. That's cool. 1 hour.
Yeah.
But if you go in blind, then it's like the weird night you starts taking over and bargaining with, or not bargaining, not even caring about tomorrow you.
Yeah.
Like, no, come on, man, stay up till 1.
Yeah.
It's like two more episodes to finish the series. Fuck tomorrow you.
Quit being a punk ass bitch tomorrow, me. You can do it. Yeah.
You can do it.
I still struggle to stick to it. I do. I'll be like, I'm going to play 2 more of this computer game. And then I get to 2 more. And I'm like, well, that one I didn't win. So I'm like, I'll play until I win. And then I win one, but it's like, but I just barely won. Like, it's just really, really embarrassingly stupid shit.
No, but it's super prevalent. Like, so many people do it. And it actually blew up during COVID. Just people needing their me time because the parents were with the kids all day.
It has been nice for me to know how common it is, because I have, like, at times really beaten myself up for it, because it's not a wise choice, but apparently it's a pretty common one.
Yeah, so there is hope here, because there was a study for bedtime procrastination and intervention. And all it was over the course of 3 weeks, they had a series of meetings where they discussed it. I think they're about 30-minute meetings. And I think all it was just awareness that this is a thing and that it's something that they didn't want to be doing. And people basically increased their hourly bedtime, or brought it forward by 1 hour, by changing their average procrastination from 75 minutes down to 14 minutes. So instead of like an hour and a half on the phone in bed, there's also something called in-bed sleep procrastination, like on your phone in bed.
Mm-hmm. I have that.
Yeah, same. It's corpsing. hour and a half down to 14 minutes. So,
but just by knowing about it, I know about it. It hasn't helped me. I mean, I don't think, and this is true of like almost everything in the world to me that I don't want to do. I used to think that I could just be like, just don't do it. And then I wouldn't. And it turns out that's not the kind of guy I am.
Yeah.
I can't just will myself into behaving better about this. So what I have to do is to put myself in positions to succeed. I mean, the things that I have done that have been effective is like find a really good book and just read that, like get in bed and read that, because I will fall asleep versus being on a screen. I still need the entertainment. I need my stories. But if I can just change what medium that is to something that's not shining blue light in my face, I have to give in and finally drift off, you know?
Right.
But just knowing about it has not helped me not to do it. I think a good analogy is the thing that you did with your kids when they were kind of stuck on sweets, and then you were like, okay, what about yogurt with granola and just so much honey?
Yeah.
You know you need something. There's an itch that needs to be scratched here. Just telling yourself it's stupid and go to sleep earlier isn't working. So what is the thing that can scratch that itch that is not also itself keeping you awake?
Right. And there was a direct correlation in 2020, a 2020 study, that the people who had bedtime procrastination had like a 10-fold higher incidence rate of looking at a screen in the 3 hours prior to going to bed. So it's...
Well, I mean, there's a way in which like this is a modern problem. There was a time in which after it got dark, it was either burn your candles or go the fuck to sleep. Phones are a very hard thing to resist. Screens are a very hard thing to resist. I mean, we're working with our daughter on that right now. She's so obsessed with her iPad. And it's hard because we'll be like, don't get all obsessed with your iPad. Hold on a second. I just got a text. So there are these things that are very addictive around us. Caffeine is a part of many of our lives. There are a lot of factors that are just, they make it hard to not indulge in this to some extent.
Speaking of caffeine, there are a few things that we can talk about that are just kind of table stakes for getting better sleep. So quickly, caffeine affecting sleep. There was a study in 2013 that even caffeine 6 hours before your bedtime can have disruptive effects. And they actually documented that the average was around an hour less sleep than the placebo or the control group. So even 6 hours before.
Wow. I've found that to be more the case as I've gotten older. I used to just be able to fuck with caffeine. It was no problem. And then that's just something that I can't handle anymore in the same way I used to be able to.
Yeah.
It's a drag. That and booze and spicy food and my lower back.
So with caffeine, my rule is 3 p.m. is my last coffee.
Yeah.
I'll even like chug a coffee at 2:59. Because if you have a coffee at 4 o'clock, or at least I do, how quickly I metabolize caffeine, I'll be screwed and I won't be able to fall asleep. For me also, I know that if I have something tomorrow morning, like if I have a workout that I need to do and I need to wake up at 5:30, I'm typically not going to stay up till 1 a.m. I stick to the thing where like, oh, maybe I'll only watch an extra 30 minutes. I'll go to bed at 10:30 or something. And then that next day I'm so tired that it's even easier to get back into a cycle of 10:30. So times where I've had like a morning workout where I have to go to it, like a class, that you got to wake up at 5:30, that also helps too.
Well, and just, physical exercise in general, there's, infinite data out there about how moving your body during the day helps you sleep your body at night. Yeah. It's interesting. The times when I've struggled with this the least is on shoots, because we have super early mornings on shoots. They're super long, taxing days. But again, shoots are often unpredictable, in a random place, dealing with strangers.
It scratches that itch.
It scratches the itch. So at the end of the day, it's like, I did it, man. I had like a wild day, and I'm going to have another one tomorrow. It's the days where it's like, I dropped my daughter off at school. I went to work. I looked at a computer for a long time. I got them to had dinner. I got them to bed. What's happening in the world of violent crime on the internet? It's so fucked. Man.
It's interesting.
That's where I get back to feeling like what it's about is identifying the thing to go back to Stu, who we call Uncle Stu, because he's a great friend to my daughter. To go back to Uncle Stu, what is the thing that hasn't happened? What is the thing that you feel like is still supposed to happen? And realizing that probably whatever you're doing at night to try to scratch that itch isn't really scratching it. And that's why you don't go to bed. Like, if you had actually scratched that itch, you'd be able to do it for 45 minutes or whatever and then go to sleep. I mean, I think for me, it's like it's like adventure, productivity, and anxiety. And those are the three things. So I do these things that like create almost the same feeling in my body, but don't actually do anything for me. So it's like, how do you do the actual thing that you actually need and get it done, and not just say, I got to stop doing this. And this is another thing with kids. You don't say stop. You say, why don't you do this instead? I mean, stop doesn't work for nobody. What's the thing you can do instead?
I'm going to work on it, and I'm glad we're talking about it. This is actually a very strange topic to spend like an entire episode on, but it's so important. And I think that it's so important for mental health. It's so important of being the best version of ourselves. I mean, I'm glad that there's a name for it. I thought that I was just a freak because it is like a strange sheepishness, almost like an addiction.
Yeah.
With my wife, where we're very similar in so many other ways, but this is a stark difference. She is like a grown-up that just goes to bed at 9:20 every day.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, I can't. She's like,
yeah.
Why?
Well, and my wife, she's like, I love going to sleep. I'm like, oh, you just love just your life being a little closer to over suddenly? What are you, nuts? But she does. It's immensely healthy. And I mean, these days with co-sleeping and a baby, it's not like she really gets enough, but it's not her fault that she doesn't get enough. I'll put it that way. It's my fault that I don't. How about this? 3 episodes from now, which will be episode what? Like 17, 16, 17?
This is 14, 15, 16.
We will begin the episode by checking in on each other.
Okay.
And to see if we're fucking going the fuck to sleep.
Yeah. Perfect.
I wish
it's something I really want to do, but this is like today, Max. Like night Max is like, shut the fuck up, bitch. You know that we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're going the distance. Man. I'm taking you to the sunrise.
When I made that challenge, I was looking at your face. You're like, Yeah, okay. I was making the exact same face. Like, I don't think I'm going to be doing good. But we'll see.